I want to start by sharing why I wanted to do this, because it's a little outside of my usual focus. And one thing is that the scams are hitting closer and closer to home, where I've been knowing actual people who've been scammed. Like one time I was working an eBay deal there, and the person says, I'm sorry, I can't fulfill your order. I have something with Social Security has gone wrong. And it was a Social Security scam that got this person I was working with on eBay. And before I could figure it out, it was already done. Like that. So it's hitting very close to home. And so I wanted to go into what's going on and why, and what we can do about it. And I did get an insight that the key is community. And one thing that's interesting too is that in our society, community is it's a theme that in some ways has been weakening a little bit with, like capitalism has a very impersonal side. You have marketplaces, you have all this, and it's gotten a little bit more impersonal since the internet. And what I got was that, like there was something I call a borderline scam, which is on eBay, there was this thing that was going on where people were making sites on eBay, and when you order from them, they order from Amazon and have it shipped to you as a gift. So if you see a little Amazon gift thing, you've been part of that, where it says fulfillment and a little gift card.
You're drop shippers, right?
Yeah, you're not allowed to drop ship on eBay. You have to have inventory if you're an eBay seller. And I basically, in that time period, I was actually doing a mild boycott of Amazon because of their big warehouses, and they were really working their employees really bad. So I was doing a little protest. I didn't want to get anything drop shipped from Amazon. That's why I went to eBay in the first place. And so.
So explain again how the borderline scam works.
The borderline scam works because you put up a site there, and when you order there, they make a quick, rapid order.
There is eBay.
The person you order from on eBay orders on Amazon and has it sent to you. They're acting like an intermediary for it. And you're not allowed to do that on eBay. eBay, you have to have inventory. And one of the signs, they often will cancel from their side, because if they don't have it, they can't do it. They just cancel it and usually don't explain it. So that was, it's not really the scams like the ones I'm going to go into, but it got me interested in them. And I found that when I called eBay and complained about it, they had almost no protection on that scam at all. I did find out a few things that did work, by the way, is you want to only order from people on eBay if they have a history that is at least like 5 years old, preferably 10 years old. So I check those things. If they have no year at all, I don't bother with them at all. Then after they pass that test, I look at their seller rating and see if there's a pattern in the complaints, usually the negative ones. If they pass that test, I send an email query to them. And if they don't respond within 48 hours of my query, I don't work with them. Because if anything goes wrong with the order, you're going to need to know that you can respond, yeah. So they have to pass 3 tests. That's my firewall for eBay. So because what happens when the person who I complained about the last time, they just dropped their whole eBay account and just made up another one. They can keep doing this over and over again like that. So. And I found out, actually Anthony found out about it, was the whole way of how to make money on eBay without having inventory. There was actually a site telling you how you can make money this way. So a lot of people were doing it all over the world. Well, they were being an intermediary. They were ordering on Amazon like a customer and doing that. And of course, if that's a scam, you get hit both ways. They're scamming you by not having inventory, and they're going to someone else who might not have inventory either, which is what happened. We were ordering an Instapot, and it came in just busted. And apparently that was another scam they were doing, where they were always sending busted stuff.
Returns, probably, yeah.
Yeah, especially like some of the ones where they're It's like selling something expensive for about $66. It seems like they love using that amount. And when you do that, one of I trade with a chiropractor healing sessions, and he got scammed by that too. He ordered one that was really cheap, and they kept sending him busted units. And he actually tried it 8 times in a row, and they kept sending him a busted unit. They were waiting for him to get exhausted by that. But of course, he was putting in like a $1,500 to get a special, professional grade 10s unit for his business. And eventually went back to the old one and just kept it going like that. But that one is one that and they just keep doing that like that.
So it's called borderline because it's not technically a scam like against the law, but it's not following the rules of the like eBay or Amazon or whatever that you have to have inventory.
Correct. Yeah, it's like a borderline one because it's an economic. It's like bait and switch and all those. It's a different kind of scam than the internet scams that I'm going there. But the thing is that a lot of people will try these borderline ones there, so it's good to get aware of them. And what I found from that one when I meditated on that was, first thing is, if anything is, I don't even look for bargains anymore on the internet. That's the first thing I do. I just, and also I form, this is where the community thing comes in about community, is that what happens is you want to have a communal idea of who you're working with. Like for instance, when it comes to anything musical, I either go to reverb.com, which is great. It's like an Amazon, but only works for musicians. In other words, it's only for musical equipment, and I find it. I got it recommended by one of the music stores there. And what's really nice about them is that whenever you buy on Reverb, they actually take a percentage of their fee and put it into a teacher's fund for music teachers, and will buy instruments for students in poor areas of the United States.
Can you spell Reverb? Is it R-E-A-V-E-R?
R-E-V-R... E-R-B. Yeah, reverb, like reverber, like reverb unit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really great, and they passed my test, and I found there's been 0 scams on Reverb. Whereas eBay, I'm practically given up on them because of how many things go through their net. I'll only go to eBay if I can't find it anywhere else, in a way. Meanwhile, like I just ordered a granular synthesizer, and this one person gave me a special deal, and then I mentioned I lost my music studio in the wildfire, and he expedited the order fast because of that, because musicians are doing it for each other. Like that, there's a sense of community on Reverb, and that community is partly why they're so well protected, too.
There's a level of integrity, there's an underlying level of integrity, and looking out for the other person.
Yeah, I really like it a lot, and I gave him a good 5-star rating. He gave me a 5-star rating and all that, and it's well deserved. And I even mentioned what I was going to do with my studio. He even mentioned he was going to give me a few other deals if I wanted them. Again, it's community is the theme there, and Sweetwater.com is another one. And they've always come through. They always go out of their way to answer my questions and things like that. They've earned my respect as well.
And what is Sweetwater?
It's for music stuff too, yeah. They actually have a person assigned to me that I can always call there, and they'll even do some research and mention some things that you might be interested in, and send you the manual if you want to get the manual ahead of time, like that as a PDF file, and even call the company for you if they don't have the answer to the question. So they're vetting the companies for you too. So that's another one. Again, it's community. And what I gather is that in our time period, we have a local community here, we have a secondary community called our network. So I put Sweetwater on my network, Reverb on my network. See, like that. And Amazon doesn't quite work the standard. Matter of fact, they've gotten worse because I was an Amazon bookseller for a long time. And I used to always send messages through the messaging system. Now they don't even have it. You can't even query the sellers anymore. So I used to build a communal thing too because I specialize in rare Buddhist books. And there's some really fun stories I have from my business as an Amazon seller. Like one person had to have it, like in 24 hours because they were going to a Dzogchen Buddhist retreat. Like it's funny, you're talking about my little MO. And I had to really rush to get that order in. And he was really thankful for it, like that. And it's like, there was a Buddhist community I was working with and worked great. And what happened was I researched my niche on Amazon, and Amazon was analyzing my data stream and actually mentioned the top Buddhist bestsellers for all the other sellers to know about it. And they started lowering the prices and giving a different kind of service. However, I had a direct connection with Tashi Choling, the Buddhist lamasery south of town. So I actually drove there, bought the stuff from them, sold it on Amazon, and they couldn't possibly hack into my communal network like that. And I was the only one who's selling them on there for the larger Buddhist community. And of course I was helping the lamasery too because I take over their marketing.
The bookstore.
And I actually did it with the Cottage Grove Dzogchen community with as well. And I sold something like 30 books for them, like that. And so I was helping the lamasery with their own thing too. That's a communal network again. But now it's like Amazon is shifting its focus, so it's not quite the same anymore. And oddly enough, the sellers we're actually communicating with each other and helping each other. We're telling people how to mail things, how to certify the mail so it gets tracked and all these things. So we're actually giving advice to each other, which was really nice. We were forming a seller community. And of course the messaging system was really important for that. So anyway, that's the background of why I wanted to share this. And I do find that if you have a tight community thing, the community can design its own protocols to safeguard itself. And it works really well. So that's...
Yeah, I was just going to add to your story that, he's pretty busy. So one thing I do is I vet next door. And I vet the scam stories because they'll always update people as to what the latest scam is. And so it's really good to join something like Nextdoor where you have the local community saying, I got this kind of phone call and they were asking for this kind of numbers and that's a scam, and so everybody else becomes aware of it.
Yes, yes, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that Nextdoor is like a Facebook, but it's for only local community.
Right.
So it's really nice. And she's my person there. Like that. Anyway, I wanted to go into the scams proper, and so I'm starting with the solution and working backwards now from there. The internet scams have several things, and some of this is obsolete, but I want to go into it historically because they do fashion new ones. Like hijacker software is pretty rare nowadays. And monitoring software, I'll go into that in a second, and then regenerative viruses. They hacked into a special repository in people's computers. And when you boot it up online, it would create another virus somewhere else in the computer. You remove that virus, and it keeps making a new one every time you boot. It's called regenerative viruses. Fortunately, Windows as an environment is getting more and more hack-proof. And so I want to, but before it was a sieve because architecturally Windows was the worst for getting virus infections. And that's because they put their data files and their program files next to each other. So the viruses would come in as data, and when it accessed the data, it was an exec file that would boot up and regenerate itself and go somewhere else there. And even dial the internet for you and go on to a malicious site and download a bigger virus afterwards.
That's insane.
So that's the big ones, but they now have some coverage of that, but I want to just point out that that's how detailed they were. Monitoring softwares where they download something, sometimes through a regenerative virus, where they actually see everything you see on your screen and wait for you to type a password to your bank. They'll just sit there and watch until they see it, write it down, and then hack into your bank account from there.
So on your computer, even if you have the password hidden, they can detect it? Because I mean, sometimes on passwords, you can say, you type it in at just a couple dots. Other times you can type it in and say you can see it, so you're typing in the right password, especially if it's like kind of long and you have fat fingers.
Well, one thing is that they can also pick up what you're sending the keystrokes to there too. So they can see what you're seeing on there. And of course, sometimes you hit the thing so you can see it yourself. Because
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what, okay.
But there's another thing too, is that there was a sophisticated series of hacks that, again, the internet's advanced, but it's good to go over the history of it. But they can actually tell, used to be, this is a little bit complicated, but there's a certain code that when you have an input request, is like a question mark in BASIC. And what happens is, when you type in a password, it's testing if the password is real one digit at a time. So what happens is that if you type in a password and it rejects it, the speed of the rejection will determine whether you got the first character right. So they'll hack again and get the first character and they do the second character the same way.
The lock running, okay.
Right,
Like
for
picking-
playing mastermind.
Yeah, and so they can actually go and keep marching it through.
Is that why you have the CAPTCHA, where you have to choose a telephone pole or a boat or something like that every 3 tries?
What a lot of them do is they only let you have 3 tries,
Okay.
and then they shut you down, because that way they avoid that
Right.
thing. So that's the evolution on the other side. And of course, with quantum computing, they can do so many tries so fast that they can sometimes get it before the lockdown occurs. But they have evolved. The monitoring software, you can usually tell when you have it because it makes your computer go twice as slow. So if you're typing it in and somehow the computer seems sluggish, then you want to do what's called a system restore, that function, if you're familiar with it. You want to have your hard drive that you're having your programs on and everything be separate from your data drive. You want to allocate all your data to your data drive and all that. And of course, that separates the 2 categories too. So if you happen to put a virus in, it'll be a data file drive, and so it won't boot from the other one. But the thing is, there's something called system restore. When you've been infected, you can hit this system restore, and it will actually restore your computer settings to before the virus insert happened. It's one of the main protections that Microsoft came up with that really works. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And you need to have half the hard drive empty. That's why it's good to put your data in another place, because it puts copies of your entire thing into the hard drive. So you need to have 50% of the space available for that. And that's foolproof. And what they do is you take pictures of it, so you have not one but several points to reboot it. Like if one system restore doesn't work, you go backwards in time further. And you can look these things online, too, like system restore, and you want to really do that. Linux also developed system restore because it's really good. They have you make your computer very hack-proof. And I think there's a system restore on Macs, but Mac, by the way, was very immune because it has Linux architecture in it. They both came from Unix. Linux went one way and Mac came another way. And Unix didn't have the data file problem of Windows. And so they were virus immune by design. Up until one thing, the podcasts on iTunes, that became the virus portal into the Mac world. Apparently anything that has to do with money is where they come in, like that. And the same thing that does handcuffing and all those things, they've learned to use it where they come in as a podcast.
What's handcuffing? I don't know that term.
Handcuffing is where when you get like a podcast, you can't give it to any of your friends.
Oh, okay.
It's handcuffed to your computer and you literally can't move it anywhere. Unless you get the jailbreak program from the hackers.
Oh, okay.
Then you can remove it from there. There's always this chess game going on in the background. But the thing is, the podcasts that you have to worry about are the ones that are hidden viruses. You download a podcast expecting to see it, you turn it on, and it loads a virus into your computer. And it seems like that was the portal that it came through on iTunes.
Now, okay, is that iTunes? Or because I have an Android system, I use like Castbox, and which is one of their programs, one of their apps to run podcasts. Is that an issue with that format? Do you know?
They probably have some security on it. Again, it's hard to tell when this information is actually out of date or whether it gets back into date again.
Okay.
But the thing is, on Android, you have to worry about downloading apps that are viruses themselves.
Okay.
The apps themselves. You want to make sure that it's got good reviews and all these things.
A lot of good reviews, yeah. Okay.
And it's good to also like go online and see if anyone's reported them. There's several report sites.
Okay. Do you have those off the top of your head?
What I do is I actually type like the name of the thing on Google search and see if anything shows up.
Take the name of
Name.
the podcast or the name of the download, whatever it is you want to download.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's interesting. All of them will show up there like that. Usually there'll be some complaints about it, and which means someone's already got burned by it already. But so that's one to watch out for when you're doing the apps. And again, one thing good is that if you go like to Google Store and all these places, see which ones the community of Android users is liking the most, because those will be the ones that will be the safest. The ones that pass through the community standard again. The ones that are new are the tricky ones, like that. These aren't foolproof, by the way, but they increase the odds when you use the community as a base. I do feel, by the way, that the antivirus on Macs is now filtering out the podcasts because podcasts become more and more important. So they're doing their own standards there. So it's good to be a little bit alert, but and the main thing you want to do is see where the podcasts are coming from. You want to have the person who's doing that be part of a community you trust. If it's a talk like a known lecturer that you like I like Jonathan Goldman with his sound healing stuff. And so he would be reliable, provided it's actually linked and it actually really is Jonathan Goldman. Because that was one thing I want to get into, is that the pretending to be someone else. So they always pretend to be somebody else. They pretend to be Social Security, IRS, and all these things.
Yeah, I've got stuff like that. I've got people asking me for quotes, and they want to send me a large deposit right away, and they want me to do the job right away. It's usually the language is kind of a dead giveaway. It's jilted.
Yeah.
Language is jilted, so they go.
Yeah, when they've got bad English, you should always
Yeah.
put up a red flag.
Yeah. So.
By the way, as far as the language part goes, I think that's going to be the next thing that's going to happen, is that their language is going to get cleaned up.
Like ChatGPT or something like that?
I notice a lot of the foreign ones have bad English.
Yes.
You know.
They'll miss an S at the end of a verb or something like that, you know. or
It
it's
just-
slight
it
misspellings.
doesn't flow.
Right.
Yeah, matter of fact, I can tell the ones from China because they have the same accent my mother has with Chinese, like that. Because they skip like verbs a lot, you know, like you know, good, you know, instead of you, like that. So if they sound like my mom, that's a sign. Oh, like that. It's so yeah, it's but I do feel it's going to clean up there. And also one thing to do is if it's from an email, if you notice there, they'll have like all these little letters instead of like a name, like J-E, like number like that. They're using a scramble code usually to get an email. They used to do it through Yahoo. Like Yahoo, there was a main place for creating scam emails. They would use, keep making false accounts and using them. But I think that Yahoo's actually been closing that portal. But now they're just making up their own and their own special hidden Yahoo things. So it's like a chess game again. They're doing that. So if you see that, just ignore it completely. The other thing too is that if it has something like socialsecurity.com or whatever, that's probably good. But if it says socialsecurity.io, that means it's coming from an island somewhere on the thing. So look at the last letters after the dot. And if it's anything besides com or net or org
Or gov.gov.
or gov, yeah, like that.
But Social Security wouldn't be sending people emails.
No.
Usually they do snail mail for all that stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
They do send emails, and what the Social Security emails do share is this. They say, do not respond to this email. They say, go directly to our official site. If you see a Social Security that doesn't say that, and don't answer it, yeah. So Social Security is putting warnings on there, and they're putting warnings on their page, too. Matter of fact,
They never come to your door, though, they say that. You know, they'd never come to your door.
Right.
and that happened, by the way, to one of Diane's neighbors. They actually had fake Social Security agents come to the door after they hit him with the email. That was one that hit really close to home, too.
Diane from the dance?
But she wasn't the one, but a neighbor was
Okay.
there. And again, they work really fast. So one thing is I'm going to pop it there so I...
So what were they trying to get?
Money?
Money.
Always money.
Yeah, it's basically money. Locking up software, that's one that's pretty rare nowadays. It's called ransomware. And that's where they have it so they freeze your computer so it can't work. And that System Restore, if you can get on, can do it. And what I actually was doing for some friends was using a Linux operating system that goes into a thumb drive, bypassing it, and then correcting it so they can get into System Restore.
Is that where like, I remember when I was in Japan, you know, suddenly my computer would go strange, and then they give you this link and say, we can fix this problem for $70.
Sounds like it, huh?
Yeah.
One of the ones when one of my systems got locked up, they had a site telling you how to remove it, and it won't work.
Right.
And they'll say, well, this looks like a more serious one than usual. We have a special software that can release it, and they want your credit card to do it. So they're being the solution online as well as the problem.
Right.
That's called ransomware. I call it locking up software because if your system locks up, you'll know that. And if your hard drive starts whirling like that, the best thing to do is unplug your computer so it can't finish the load, and that's one way of stopping it. However, this is old. I just want to say that this is stuff that doesn't happen anymore.
Ransomware, they just closed down an African American college, I think, last year. They didn't have anything backed up, and the whole operating system got shut down. I think it was last year, just 2 years ago. Down south, I'd have to find it.
Yeah, that was one. It's interesting, but those people were getting a little too casual.
Okay.
Those colleges. That's why I'm talking here, is because they were just giving away things like that and believing everyone says who they are on the phone. Open. The amazing thing, it didn't happen sooner. I do remember that story, though. I think you're the one who showed it.
I don't remember, but okay.
Oh,
I'll take your word for
Take the
it.
credit, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, nice job.
yeah. And I put old con in new form because a lot of this stuff was stuff that I was doing with old phone calls way back in the 80s. But it's now taking a new form on the internet. The thing is that it's a way of getting into your house. Instead of traveling like a traveling salesperson, now they can hit more people quicker using the internet to access you. So I just want to point out that a lot of them are redefined. These people have a history that's very long, and they're getting into the internet. And what I gather is we're getting vaccinated on the internet with these things, and we're getting immunity to these tactics. And I'd rather have you learn from me rather than getting your own bad experience. Again, community, if something happens there, we should be sharing our stories like next door. This is one that's new, is that cyber warfare. Of course, it's been around since the Cold War a lot, and the U.S. government has claimed some of them. Like they apparently shut down, I think, the nuclear power plant in
They spun up the centrifuges.
yeah.
So they spun the centrifuges when Iran was developing nuclear weapons. So they hacked in and then spun up the centrifuges so they self-destructed.
Yeah.
So they had to get all new centrifuges and put them several years back in developing nuclear weapons.
Yeah, they're testing to see if they can do this through the internet. So they're testing the line, as they call it, which is like they're being military hackers. And since we're now, there's a Russia-Ukraine war going on, it's escalated. Have you noticed there's a big surge of all these ads hitting your emails? I've noticed it. It's because of this.
One thing that probably is related to that is that a lot of banks are getting credit card scams and debit card scams. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from Road Credit Union saying that there was some purchase that had been made in Australia and wasn't me. But it was, you know, I had to go to the bank and change my debit card.
I got a similar thing. It wasn't Australia, but there were charges on a debit card that I'd never taken out of my wallet. I'd never used. And so they credited me. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was alarming how they had my number,
Yeah.
my debit card number. So I just had them shred the debit card. And
Yeah. You got to go right to the bank, change your debit card at once, because apparently.
Okay, before we go any further, I want to honor what Nikki was saying, that
Right.
to have it be on record on the thing, that they're talking about a few credit card scams that are hitting close to home. And I think they're using it by a robo-dial thing, except it's for credit card numbers. See, the thing is that the credit card numbers have a lot of digits, and they're actually able to use like a robot way of probing to see if they can find a card. And with high-speed computers now, what used to be prohibitive is not anymore. So that's where I think they're coming from.
I think it was a random number generator that the bank assistant mentioned. That they're able to randomly generate numbers that potentially are a debit card or a credit card.
Yeah, I think they're going to eventually go to two-step verification, like we were talking about earlier, to do that, where the credit card number will not be enough. And right now, even a little number on the back with a 3-digit number is going to be not enough too.
Right, and then the date of expiration too. So it's got to go beyond those 3 steps, really.
Well, a lot of times the last where I'm doing zip code as well, when I'm running stuff.
Yeah, I think that, again, it's a chess game that's going on there, and what I recommend, if it happens, you, of course, change your credit card number. And I sometimes wonder if it's even worth having a debit card sometimes, because that's the one where they can go directly into your account.
that's what I decided. I just said, I'm not going to have one. Just shred it. I'm not getting another.
And one thing I do feel, by the way, is and this is just my own personal opinion, but I do feel my money safer in a credit union rather than a bank. And because that's like a borderline scam. When I was with Bank of America, they kept putting a service fee, even when I said I want a feeless account. And they have a little fine print that's about really tiny that most senior citizens can't read. It basically says the bank can do whatever it wants and raise it anytime they feel like it. And you agree to that whenever you do a bank account. When I was taking my money out of U.S. Bank, they made up a fee right in front of me. It's called a fee for taking your money out of your account. Like that, just like that, $50.
Whoa.
And when I was working with U.S. Bank in Minneapolis, I transferred it over to U.S. Bank in Ashland. I said I want it to be feeless no matter what. It says, yes, it's feeless. But then again, there's this clause where they can change their mind anytime they want. Credit union, it's like a co-op for money. So you are an owner, and they're not going to scam their own owners, at least not as easily. So again, it's the community theme I want to really highlight here.
Yeah, I think the other good thing about a credit union is they know you're local. So that scam was able to pick it up because I shouldn't be in Australia. I should be in Ashland. So a credit union, I think, is more sensitive to those potential scams than a bank would be.
Again, this is...
How do I...
Anyway, I'll just name it there. That it's talking about one that we actually had as an experience of. But the thing I like about it is that the rogue credit union knows our spending habits. When anything's off pattern, they catch it. And they've caught about several. One was actually a mathematical error at Target. What happened was that one person accidentally double charged. So they immediately removed the second charge. And they reported to us to know what happened. So that because they're communal, and they only invest, by the way, rogue credit union in Oregon. So the money goes into helping the communities as well. So that fits my model, and of course they're expecting that to be a framework. So anyway, the robodial is similar, where you're just going through permutations, and when the quantum computers start really kicking online, they're going to do permutations super fast. And this one is zombie friend clones. And what they're doing is that they're trying to create a false consensus, is one of the scams, where they're, like for instance, I had one friend who actually literally died, and then she tried to friend me 3 months later, and I know her resurrection yoga was not perfect yet, so I know that she didn't do it. Not that I have anything against my friend, she might have been able to pull it off, but I was quite certain she actually died and stayed dead. But I've seen it happen a whole lot where people are copying that. And if you have an inactive Facebook page, they will try to do a clone of that and look after and start going after your friends like that. And they'll try to get it to, and they'll kind of go through the networks. And they actually use that as like a voting block for opinions that your friends might not even have. They're called click farms too. I mean, you've probably heard of them. A click farm is where a company who's made all these zombie friend clones will sell all your clone friends to be loyal to a politician, for instance. And they'll all verbally vote for them and create a feeling they're all your friends.
Grassroots support.
Yeah.
Everybody likes this guy.
Yeah, it's a zombie apocalypse,
Yeah.
really. It's actually happened already, like that. So that's one that's very common there. And they're making money off of your face and your name, and even making clones of your friends. So that's around two. And that one, Facebook is trying to do something about it, but it's actually quite hard. Yeah.
So I have a Facebook page that was set up years ago, which I don't use. Would it be better if I destroy it somehow?
Yes.
How do I do that?
Oddly enough, it takes quite a lot to get off of Facebook. They don't like to let you go very easily, but you can either get a computer savvy friend to help you off of it, or if you fail that, we could possibly help you do that too. But
I think it's quite a rigmarole, but yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, I just didn't do anything with it, but because I didn't think it was a problem. But if what you're saying is somebody can use it to do bad things.
What they do is they download all your pictures, all your like Facebook pictures, and they'll even make some up, by the way. If you show up in the local news with a picture of food angels and you're smiling, they'll put that on the fake Facebook page.
Well, so I've been getting emails saying there are updates on Food Angels Facebook page. I never created a Food Angels Facebook page.
Then report it to Facebook, and their community standards will be invoked. I suspect some of your friends might be already doing it, is to do it, but
To do what?
to report clone Pamelas and clone Food Angels.
Okay.
See, the thing is, they can download, if you can see it on your computer, they can download the HTML code and make a mock page that looks literally identical to your page, except instead of saying, like email will say, send to Western Union, like that, they'll put a little sentence difference. Matter of fact, if you see Western Union on a page, assume it's fake.
That means a foreign entity is trying to scavenge
So
donations from your fake page.
What he said is usually there's a small spelling error, as opposed to Western Union is Western Onion or something else, like one letter different. And then that would go to their page as opposed to the official page.
Oh.
So again, so look for proper spelling in the HTML text.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them will actually use Western Union to get money, to send money to them.
Oh, wow.
But that one is fading away because there are a lot of people who are now tracking them down, like in the FBI. So if they have an address, they're really happy. And by the way, Google is tremendously good about tracking them down. They're using a really good search algorithm to go through VPN corridors and track down who's sending it. And by the way, don't use VPN as a way of... VPN is a corridor that they would bounce your thing so the person cannot find your IP address at the other side. It's called, it anonymizes the signal. However, some of the people are actually volunteering to be part of the VPN networks. The hackers themselves will put themselves in the middle of a VPN corridor to get your IP address.
Brilliant. Smart people.
And Google found out what they were doing, because theoretically Google should not even be able to do it, but they tracked it down to Leningrad.
Okay.
Yeah, I was amazed. I said, boy, these are really good people there.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's really brilliant there. Google is trying to get people with secure accounts. And they're the ones who are pioneering two-step verification, where they link it up so that a person would have to steal your email address, password, and your cell phone. So they send a text of a special temporary code to your cell phone that you put on your thing, so that if they even hack you and monitor and all those things like I was telling before, they will be able to stop it, because you have your phone as a backup system. So definitely use two-step verification. It's a little bit of a nuisance, but it solves most of the problems.
I have a question. It's about Google, and about Google can generate a password for you, which they then memorize for you, so that you never have to type out the password, and it's so difficult that no, it can't be hacked. Is that worth using, or is there some danger to that?
I find out that some of the really
You might
elaborate...
need to repeat the question.
He's asking about software. Sometimes they say whether you have a super secure and all those things.
They make one up for you.
Yeah, Google now makes a password for you and say, you don't have to write it down or memorize it, we do it for you. You might want to repeat that for the...
I was asking about password security. You can make them so elaborate it won't work for you. That's what I find. I don't find, what I do actually is use what the cryptocurrencies use, is use like little words, make the password longer, but type actual full words and put numbers between them, preferably numbers that are meaningful for you.
But not birthdays.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention which ones I use, since this will be televised on YouTube, so I can't tell you which ones I use. But the thing is, and I also scramble those too anyway.
I also like to use hashtags or dollar signs or exclamation marks, you know, always add in extra symbols that are not numbers and not alphabet.
Yeah, the thing is, you want to have things that only would identify you within your own community, and even then be a little anonymous when you're doing passwords. So that someone, even if they're tracking like your Facebook page, because I have a lot of stuff that's public on it because a lot of people ask me to make the post public. So I have more stuff there, but
The Facebook page is in relation to what? This or
well, it's for my own. One of my earliest things that I did on my Facebook timeline was to post the entire Buddhist Dharma with all the 3 major vehicles of Buddhism, with everything you need to know, that if you only read my Facebook timeline, you could meditate to Supreme Perfect Enlightenment.
Okay.
So I made it one of my little missions, and it's been really good. It's been apparently helping a lot of people. And I wanted to do that just as an experiment. But now that people like it, they want to have me keep posting and have it so that people can still read the things. So I used to have it only be to Facebook friends, and now I've kind of made it a little larger. At the same time, I do remember that it's on a fishbowl, as it's called, as everyone can see it. So I need to keep a tight idea of who I'm presenting myself to be, like that. And so you want to realize that you are in a digital fishbowl, as it's called. That's a term that's going around. And get used to the idea that some people might be trying to use it to get to you. You don't have to be paranoid about it, but you have to be clear about it. And I'll tell you one thing is, the worst people are your friends unless they understand what I'm talking about, a community. People need to protect each other, like that. That's the thing, is that because in a way, people are using the internet to hack into your house. Before, they would just break into your house as a thief. Now they can get into your house on the internet, and to realize it needs the same level of security as you want for your house. Good locks that work. And if somebody breaks in your house, you change the locks automatically, change your passwords online. You want to do those things. One thing I do recommend, by the way, is never put your exact birthday on Facebook. Put the month or year, but not the exact birthday.
Oops.
Yeah.
Because identity theft, it just needs your name, address, your birthday, and definitely if you give your social security number, there's going to be a zombie clone friend created.
And also if you're linked to your mom, and she has her maiden name up there, so you have mom's maiden name, because that used to be one of the code words of getting into an account.
Yeah, the person was saying that, maiden names, all that. They'll try to research and do data mining on those things. And so you want to keep some of the information reserved. And the simplest way is to make an approximate birthday, one that's good enough for that site. Of course, reason why Facebook wants your name is because they sell information. And one of the big buyers of Facebook was the CIA. They were buying it massively, and also the Cambridge group that they were targeting during the election, like that, was also another one. And they also were, selling it to click farms and vice versa and stuff like that. And one thing that Andy found online was information is the new oil. So you are the data they want. And it's very interesting, that area, but yeah, you want to realize your actual birthday. And of course, your friends will be the first to say happy birthday on it, so at least have the year off, like that.
Well, you can also say you can put your birthday under lock. You can make it a fake birthday. Just the first of the month whenever you're born. And then you just say you don't want your birthday made public. So it doesn't come up at all with your friends. So you can put it under lock, which is essentially what I've done. I've done the first of the months of my real birthday, and then locked it so that nobody sees it and it never comes up, Andy's birthday is today or something like that.
Yep.
So we're still talking about Facebook. I mean, what if I send a happy birthday email to a friend? Does that put that friend in jeopardy because I'm sending a happy birthday email to them on their birthday?
Person's asking about if you send an email, that probably won't do anything.
Okay.
All right, unless the hacker hacks into their email list and finds it, like that.
Yeah,
So,
this is social networking.
Like
Email should be
Facebook.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick
You see, you
question.
condemned your friend to death.
So if you never had a Facebook account, never anything to do with Facebook, but someone that you're texting or talking to is, can that information get on Facebook? Even if you say, I don't want on Facebook, I don't do Facebook, but someone that you're friends with has Facebook, can your information get on that?
Yeah.
Because of knowing them?
Yeah, they can post it. Anybody can post stuff on Facebook.
person's asking whether you can get, pretty much if you're, basically if you're not going to make Facebook your community, don't be on it.
Yeah, I've
That's a
never-
safe way.
I've never even had one, I don't even go to it,
Yeah.
I have nothing,
They're probably good.
I form a community group,
right.
so the most important things are not on the timeline
You should probably get
like that.
deleted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can hurry.
And anyway, let me go a little further. I'm actually covering most of the material through the question and answers that are happening. But essentially, either you get on Facebook and protect your community or get off of it, and you'll pretty much, it won't happen.
I've never had one, I've just heard that if you're friends with someone that is on it, that your information gets on their page, so on and so forth. That's what I've heard, I'm not saying it's true, but I've never myself been on it.
Occasionally, I have a friend who'll take a picture of you and put the picture on Facebook, like that. Yeah, like that. I have quite a few friends that did that already.
Luckily, Facebook didn't have to take down the picture photo identification that it used to do.
I see.
So that became, that they don't do that anymore.
However, there is, a person was talking about they don't do the photo ID thing, but it's very easy to have a robot data miner go through and do the photo ID anyway. All right, they're
Something
actually.
I'm never worried about, and just something that I heard, I just want to know what was and what wasn't. Maybe I should have addressed
But,
that before.
This is what I'm calling medium security. If you only have to worry about the CIA and the Chinese government doing photo ID of you, you're pretty safe, because there are different levels of security. I recommend getting a solid medium level security.
And what means that? What is a solid medium level security to you?
Okay,
Thank you. Well, wow.
there we go.
Do I got money for this?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. And these are just recommendations for you. I'm organizing it there. Have more than one email. Like if you're doing business, like with different companies, give one generic email, which is the one you will probably get all kinds of scam stuff on it. Give another email that's only for your trusted friends. And also, I'm planning to get a third one. There's a Swiss email that has double encryption in the email itself. And people are using that for their financial transactions by email or work with the government. So security has the same double encryption too. That's where they encrypt the email so that if somebody intercepts your email, they'll just see a lot of random letters. They won't be able to figure out what it's
Is
about.
that Proton Mail?
I think so, but I have it marked on something I'm going to do, and I've been too busy to do it. But I do notice that Social Security and other prints are already doing it. In other words, they're already using it, sending information to you. So, it's going to be the standard for communication, because you send the encryption key separate from the email, so they have to get both of them in order to put it together. And the encryption key is randomized, so it's each time you send it, it works. So that's really good. That way, in other words, you organize it so you form your network of contacts and you make sure it's a trusted network through those things. So that's behind this. And then chain passwords, we went through this before after a trip, after using public Wi-Fi, like just change it, yeah.
Okay.
Because what I was saying before was that they have this device there that will basically go into like a restaurant that has Wi-Fi and record everything that everyone's using.
Why would you even use public Wi-Fi?
Well,
It's mind-boggling to do that.
well, if you're like you're like having a meeting at a restaurant, you're going online.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But
See that.
but the thing is that if you're traveling and you stop by to say hello to your friends at a
Okay.
restaurant, or at Walmart, you want to check up an item on their inventory.
Okay.
They have these devices that can just like data mine the whole thing and then sort it out later. So
Starbucks is a particular place where people go to use their laptops, and so they'll log into the Wi-Fi.
So a coffee shop.
Yeah.
yeah, so what you want to do is just change the password before they get in, and that's like a simple precaution you can do. And that's why I recommend an easy password so that you don't have to keep refiguring it out again like that. It's something that's big enough so it will be fairly hack-proof. And once every 3 months just as a safety too. In other words, just in case, even if nothing particular is going on, just to rotate it every now and then. So like that. That's what I'd recommend there. And then, see, these three. And then, do not give out sensitive info, like birthdays. Definitely not your social security number. But I'm amazed at how many people are getting it anyway. So that's like we were getting set up with Charter, and we got this person who sounded like she was from Thailand. Or she had this database that even knew my last 6 addresses I've lived in.
And the last 5 cars that you've bought.
Yeah, like that. So they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff is much of that is available publicly. You can do word searches or background checks for like $20 on people. You can get phone numbers. You can also get addresses and things like that. And you spend like $30, you can find addresses going back multiple years on people for just a couple bucks.
Yeah, the bottom line is you don't want to be the data mine they're using for yourself. You don't want to give them a knife and say, here's how you can stab me. You want to make them work hard for the information. So the information is floating around. So you don't want to be the chain that links it. Do not use links from email. If you get an email, sometimes there's links on the email. You click it and it'll go to a web page. Never, ever use it. If it looks completely legit, don't use it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Why is that?
Because the thing is that you can totally clone an official thing. So it can look literally official they can actually get like a social security email and use the exact same thing and even go online and get the name of the director of social security and all that. So even if it does seem to be official, you want to ignore that and go directly to the site without it
Yeah.
and go through the official channel.
Right.
I had a friend post me from Facebook saying, hey, I found an old picture of you. Click this link. Like something felt wrong. I didn't look into it, and then 2 hours later, it's like my Facebook has been hacked.
Yeah.
Don't open up anything from me, and it was just a private message via Facebook,
Yeah.
with a link embedded.
Okay, the
I
person,
saw a video and it was,
a
sorry.
person was saying something about Facebook message pictures and all that, or one that was that someone found you naked, like that. That was another one.
Right.
Wow.
Or your friend, I just got one recently. We think a really good friend of yours just died. Or
Yeah, I
something,
got
it was
that
in an accident, bad accident or something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you want to have a community network that finds it out the other way without those messages. Yeah, but yeah, don't ever click a link. If the information is real, you can find another channel that's more official to do it.
Let's just start
Yeah.
jumping.
If
Just-
it's from a friend that you know, it's okay to click?
No.
No.
No?
No, that you go through friends that you know. But what you do is you paste, if you really want to look at the link, you copy the link, paste it open a new page that's not connected to your email, and then click the link. But my advice would be just ignore the whole thing.
I would call, if it's something I'm concerned about, I will call them directly and say, hey, did you just send me a link or something like that?
Yes,
Oh.
that's good.
Okay, one thing I want, just a footnote about it. One thing I noticed about all those things, they rarely ever mention your name. You see, that's a big clue. Also, there's like very generic, vague words, like someone did this. You want to have only something with more specifics than that.
Yeah, it's like, guess who died? I think you know him. And there's a link. Or, I saw this video, and boy, it's embarrassing. I think it's you. And then they have a link. And people get...
See, if a friend actually saw it, they wouldn't say, I think I know it's you. They would know it's you.
Yeah.
That's some signs of the language, like you were saying before.
Yeah, I got an email that claimed to be a friend and had links to photos from her. And it was a different email address than she normally sends from. And that was suspicious.
Yeah, you want
It
to...
was a name I knew. Yeah.
The thing is, you want to have your friends agree to make a tight network where you cross-validate each other independently of the internet traffic, so you know anything is coming, it's not coming from one of your friends. You want to develop a community. That's the main theme I want to really bring home, is how you do that. Do not answer unknown phone numbers. Same thing is, if somebody gives out your number, you can give permission for that, but then they have to notify you that they've given out the number to somebody, so you can expect their call. So that way you don't have to worry about a hack.
Yeah. And if it's important, they'll leave a message and you'll recognize the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
I get a lot of calls. I mean, it does drive me crazy, but because of Food Angels, I feel like I need to check in, and a lot of people have phones from other places in the States, so they don't always have local prefixes. But somebody told me one thing to do is if I pick up the phone and don't say anything, if it's not a real person, it'll just go to the busy signal, and then I hang up.
That's one that I think the new robocalls don't do that, because if you pick up the phone, they know it's a live phone number and they will record it.
And the other thing is, you don't answer yes or no. They'll say, can you hear me? And then as soon as you say yes, then they've got your voice recorded as saying yes. They can cut and edit that and use that for something else.
What I found we were talking about earlier was where you have a message saying, if you need to get a hold of me, please hang up and call again. So you see the person calls twice. That cuts off all the robocalls. That's a really good filter. See what I mean? You put a voice message saying that says that please leave a message here and I'll get back to you. If you need to get a hold of me immediately, hang up and call back, and then we have a double caller ID, and the robocall will not be able to do that, because the robocall will go from one person to another really fast. So that's one filter one of my friends developed. It was pretty smart of her. So that's a good one to do, is that we don't answer any unknown phone numbers.
On standard landlines, do they have the option, do you know if anyone has the option where it translates the voice to text? Because I've got that on my cell phone, and I use that for call screening. I have most of my phones usually set to do not disturb, and when they leave a voicemail, it automatically dictates it and turns it into words, so I can open up the phone and just look at it and see if it's something I'm even interested in before I even have to listen to it. And if it isn't, I just delete it right away. Do you know if there's anything like that that does it for a hard line?
You know, it's funny, someone's asking about landlines. I think landlines are going to be fairly obsolete pretty soon. But I think you have to develop a protocol for that, but the best thing to do is if they're a landline, they're probably local. And so you can put them on a list, or you can do the reverse phone search. and see if it's a local address that's the key to, or an area code.
And what number is that? Do you know offhand? Do you know how to get that? Because I know of it, but I just don't know the number off the top of my head to punch in to get the local address, what you just said.
No, the phone number, it's a reverse phone search,
Okay.
where you get the phone number and you find the address. Of course, they're getting to be more and more monetized, these sites. So it might see, some of the information I'm sharing is already getting obsolete in some ways. But sometimes you can do a search of the businesses in the area, or type just the number into a general Google search, and you might find their storefront, like that. So there are, it's still good to do it, or Zillow might have it. See,
So why do you say that landlines will be obsolete soon?
because I do think the cell phone technology is going to be more and more dominant, because a lot of the youngsters find it's more practical as they're moving from one address to another. Every time they move through another address, they have to keep switching their phone number, and it's more convenient for them to have a stable phone number. Like you said, a lot of the people have phone numbers from out of state. They're all cell phones.
Well, I understand that with people who are mobile, but I've lived in my house 30 years, I have a landline, I don't have the intention of giving it up, and is somebody going to tell me that I can no longer have a landline?
They're probably you get to keep it for a while anyway, but I don't know. I don't know when they do it, but my instincts from watching technology is they're going to be phasing it out sometime.
You might be able to transfer the number over to like a Google line or something like that, or an internet line.
That's what I have, is an internet line.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a landline.
Okay, well, it's an internet line, then it's okay.
Okay. A landline is one that's through,
The
not
old-
through the internet, but what is it through?
Through the old telephone wires, like people got 50 years ago, 100 years ago,
Yeah.
or even 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't that long
Yeah.
ago, right?
Yeah.
No, we had a landline
Yeah.
service when we first moved here 13 years ago.
Yeah, so do we.
But we got
Businesses
so many
often have
scam
landlines.
calls and.
Like we have landline for the library,
Oh,
so businesses often have landlines.
Yeah.
They don't use cell
And it's
phones.
not through the internet?
No.
The kids who don't know how to use the dials anymore.
Yeah, essentially fiber optics is super fast and it takes very little space. Copper lines have to be enormous, they carry less data, they can break down for all kinds of reasons. So at one point they're going to feel it's cost effective to eliminate them. But you might have another good 10 years or so. But just this is a thing, I wouldn't worry about that, but just be prepared, that's all, like that. Let's see, use secure links, goes directly to the web page and like that. Set up system restore, we covered that earlier. Antivirus software. Windows and all those, they have their own built-in antivirus, and it's gotten really improved over the years. So I think it's good enough. But what you want to do is combine it with an ad blocker. I use Opera as my web browser, which is based on Google Chrome. And it has a section of the settings where you can click all these things, including malware and all that. And it actually is really good at blocking viruses, because the viruses come in as ads. So if you use ad blocker plus the natural native antivirus software of the main browsers, those two combine to be pretty impeccable.
Isn't Safari pretty good too, as far as, because I use Safari at home, and I don't think I have an ad blocker, and I've never had a problem with a virus.
It's probably okay. That's why I say it's my personal choice to use Opera.
Opera.
That one is really good. And they, for instance, I watch YouTube and there's no ads at all. That's how good it is. With Chrome and all those ones, you get ads there.
Right,
Opera,
wow.
not a single one comes through.
Wow, that's good to know. So it's just a web browser, you just install it?
It's a web browser, yeah. It's a download, and only go to the official Opera site. You don't want to load it from a third-party thing, because they could download a virus when you're downloading Opera. So you want to go to the official Opera site only.
How do you know what's official?
It'll say opera.com,
Okay.
like that, and also it won't be like a weird name of a download site.
Right.
And also, two, if you look, when you do Google search, you'll see this little thing, ad, like that. I skip all the ads
Yeah.
and take the first one that looks official that's not an ad.
Right, yes,
Um,
yeah.
So I recommend doing that. And also, it's better for the company too, because if you click one that says ad on it, Google gets money. And even though I like Google a lot, I'd rather save the money to the company, so I'm building my community. I don't want them to spend any more money than they have to. And I'm also teaching them that they don't need to have the ads on Google in order to find people. So I deliberately avoid the ads for a number of reasons.
What about DuckDuckGo as a web browser?
Well, DuckDuckGo is a search engine.
Oh, search engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Opera is a web
Web
browser.
okay.
And you can set the pointer to making DuckDuckGo your search engine.
Yeah, I do.
I like to have Google be an option though, because
Yes.
it gives me a lot of information what's going on there. And but DuckDuckGo is a good one for non-official channels. There's apparently a whole lot of other ones that are around too, like Ecosia.
Yeah, I like Ecosia, yeah, because it pays for trees, planting trees around the world, so as an environmentalist,
Yeah.
I like Ecosia.
What is that? Can you spell
It's
it?
something that's attached
Ecoasia.
to Chrome.
Ecosia,
Ecoasia?
yeah.
Ecoasia, yeah. Oh, well, it's eco, no A, but S-I-A,
ECOSIA,
right.
and that's .com.
Right, so I let them do ads. It's not about the scams and stuff. I let them do the ads because they make money off of the ads, and then they use it to plant trees in Africa and stuff like that. So I like that.
And by the way, Opera has, and I think Safari and all this also do too, but they have a malware list of all the attack sites, as they're called. There's some sites, if you go online, they immediately try to download a virus without even asking for permission. Opera and all that has firewalls against it. That's one reason why I like using it. So secure browser is one of the things I recommend. And surf secure zone. I've given up hunting for bargains on like music equipment. And one thing I do like about Facebook Marketplace is you can look out on the site and you know who's actually trying to sell it and see that. And it's a good thing to check. So you can secure that way. But a secure zone, like I have Sweetwater on my list. I vetted them, and so they're on my secure zone. You want to vet people and develop a network, and then once you get a trusted network, you try to do everything in that network. So that's one thing I recommend there. And build up business network too.
One cautionary thing that I would have with Facebook and getting business through things like Facebook and Nextdoor is the latest scam is that people, if you've put something on Facebook for sale or for free or Nextdoor, people will call you and then say, I want to verify that you're a human, please tell me such and such a digit. And really what it is it's the extra code that they can use to get into your email. So whenever you see somebody asking you for any kind of digits or code numbers or something like that, you've got a scammer on your hands, ignore it.
So, how do they call you?
Well, they'll
Or-
message
okay.
you on Facebook, apparently.
Right.
And they will say, I'm going to send you a number code and I need you to read it.
Oh,
and
just
then-
like 2 steps.
Right, and then convey the number back to me so that I know you are who you say you are and you're not a scammer. But they are scammers, and once they get that code, apparently it's the code that can open up your Google account or something like that.
It actually was something similar on Amazon where they did it, where somebody would hack into your email address, get onto your Amazon account, and they would have you, they'll actually say, I'm from Amazon. It says, I need you to recite the secure code to me. And they'll actually type in what they say.
Oh, no, oh, that's
Yeah.
wrong.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Oh,
$5,000 later.
oh dear. I'm sorry, Nikki.
And they were posing as an Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon is a big one.
This was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So now when I see anything from, Amazon or I don't really do eBay or anything.
PayPal's another big one.
well, what I want to do
Unless
is,
I know what it is, I don't answer, I just,
you don't want to play chess
Right.
with these people. What you want to do is, even if it seems legit, go directly to the Amazon through the proper channel.
right.
Again and again and again. Build up a network and stay with a standard official network connections.
Right.
Never go 1 inch off of it.
Yeah.
Once you develop your secure zone, stay within it.
For example, if you ever get a mail from PayPal.com and it might be small letters or big letters,
Right.
just slightly
Right.
different, and it says your account has been limited, never ignore that mail. Go to your PayPal through a different web page
Right.
Yeah.
and make sure it's yours. Log in and see if anything's happening there.
Oh, yeah.
Probably nothing. It's unlikely that you ever get limited.
Yeah, one thing I want to do a cautionary note about this is I'm trying to give a general broad-based approach to medium security. I don't want to go into tremendous details about these scams because they're already violating one of the principles I'm sharing. Like, don't go through any alternate channel whatsoever, no matter what. If the person says they're from Social Security, don't try to vet them over the phone. Just say, good, I'll call Social Security myself. If they're legit, it doesn't matter. And if they're not legit, you've avoided it. You don't want to go into the details of the scam because the details are going to change,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I don't want people to play the game of psyching them out because you have better things to do with your life
Yeah,
than playing chess with them.
right.
Yeah.
To me, you want to save it for the FBI and all these people
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, just ignore most of the stuff.
Yeah, but I really want to emphasize that because some of the advice that's being given is you're trying to play a head game with them and vet them out. They will win because they're practicing with several million people.
Right.
You're just one person, all right? So you want to use a protocol you can trust, all right? And that's just medium level security because they can find ways, like if there's a leak, like in Thailand, and if somebody hacks into that database and gets everything, it's going to be trickier there. And there are some safeguards for that. But immunization from gullible trust, like that, you want, that's why I'm going over the clone people. Because the most vulnerable group is some of the senior citizens whose cognitive abilities are getting impaired. They're going through a stage where they're going senile or something like that. You know.
Know of somebody who had just gotten a call from, I think it was a Vista, and they had a rental unit. They said, well, they hadn't paid, your tenants hadn't paid, and if you don't send us the money right away, we're going to shut off the fuel. So the person was panicking, they were doing something else at the time. They sent the money out, and then they said, oh, the payment didn't go through, you need to resend it. So they sent it again, and it was a scam, and they lost, what was it, $1,000. That just happened to somebody I know.
That's one good thing, by the way, is the protocol. It's called a sense of urgency. They work with it because they have to hit really fast.
Oh, yeah.
You see, so never believe any urgency.
And you're right about the elderly. When my mother was in rehabilitation, I would thank God for state and federal that you worked with, that you would get these calls. I am United Way, I am so-and-so, may I speak to so-and-so? Oh, she had me call you, and I'd be like, no, this call is over, I'm done. You would know automatically because they're saying that she's not where she is, which is home with me, I'm her caregiver. Or they're asking me, can I speak to her? She asked me to call you. It was always something that was just off, even if they're saying, I'm United Way, which these are wonderful programs, that's not the point. The questions that they're asking before they're identifying themselves and have all this bad information, they're just trying to call you to get Social Security,
Yeah.
to get into banking and trust, trust and things like that. So hanging up's the quickest way to stop it, and then I would let the social worker and people like that know immediately.
Okay. what this person's describing is person presenting themselves the United Way. That's the thing, is they always pretend to be somebody.
Yes.
So that's a big theme to always watch out for.
And they might know a little bit about you more than they should. However, it's pretty quick where the slip up, at least I've done it so long that you're like, I know that she didn't speak to you, I know that I didn't talk to you, I'm done. Yeah. You know, you just cut it off very quick.
Again, you don't want to play a psych out game where you're trying to figure whether they're legit or not. You want to go straight to a secure channel.
Yeah.
If you play the game, you're already hooked. I want to emphasize that. That social engineering thing like that, that's the thing is, because they might get an idea that you figured them out. And if they're still playing with that, means they feel they can hook in.
Yeah, and they'd have names and age and things like that, but every call I'd have to answer, because if it was for in representation of her.
And they might have already gotten to a previous friend. They might be secretly trying to see if they get a few extra bits of information. Right. Like you could say, well, she's here with me right now. No, and you might, if you even say that, they'll put it down in their notes and use it for the next friend. That's what I mean, ID, covert,
yes.
Negative friends. You got to watch out for things like that. Identifying enablers. People who try to psych them out or end up being enablers, right? And there's a phrase that would be beyond what I can do in this talk, but it's called a communal narcissist. There are people who always go for causes like United Way, anything good, and they align themselves up to that because they realize people drop their guard down when there's a group they believe in. And they're wreaking havoc right now. They're even leading whole movements in the New Age. So anyway, that's beyond the scope of this, and it's beyond this level of security. But you want to build up a network and really see it as your community and protect it. And especially the senior citizens. I have a big spot there, and most of us have elderly, or I don't have any more because my mother's passed on. But there's something called slamming that occurred, where I was using this special long distance service that would donate to causes that I believed in. And all of a sudden I get this letter in the mail and says, "We're sorry, we miss you." I said, "What do you mean miss you?" I says, "Well, you got off there." I didn't authorize that. Turns out this person took advantage of my mom, who doesn't even have the authority to do it. And the funny thing is, my mother didn't even say yes. In other words, they used my mom just talking as an excuse because my mother didn't have good memory, and this person knew that. And even my mother, one thing about having a paranoid schizophrenic mother, she'll say no to everything, which is really good. But they just said, well, thanks for doing it, like that, and slammed there. And I filed a big complaint to AT&T and I didn't use their service ever again because that was one of their employees. They were giving incentives for the number of people you could switch over. So they were reinforcing that.
Oh, they switched you from your long distance company to AT&T.
Yeah. And I said, I'm the only one authorized to do that. My mother isn't authorized. My dad isn't authorized. I'm the one in charge of the phone bill. Like that. And so you want to protect the seniors. You really do. That's the thing about building community. They're the target group. And they'll actually look through the obituaries, they'll look through these things, they'll take advantage of those things a lot. If someone dies and see the paper, a lot of realtors will go after that to do that. All these things will happen. So, and you want to walk them through it and just warn them, and then volunteer to help them. Say if there's anything that seems out of the ordinary or anything, I'll take care of it. Like that, and they can use that as a weapon on the line. He says, sorry, I have a friend who's going to take care of it. Bye. Be that person. That's the most targeted group, by the way.
Well, I mean, if you just let the phones always just go to voicemail, then you're going to bypass a lot of that, aren't you?
Well, we're getting inoculated by this discussion.
Okay.
But the thing is, this older generation is used to trusting people more because their world was safer back then. There wasn't any internet and the scams occurring. So they have gullible trust, and it's was normal trust. It was considered good neighborly for that. And so we need to protect them because their nervous systems are not adapting to all this. And also their cognitive abilities are getting, they're going through this called a second infancy. And of course infants are very trusting. So that's part of what I really want to share about that. And the best thing to do is really take them under your wing and realize that if they're part of your community, you don't want them to be attacked. Just like if Attila Hunt went through your little village, you're going to protect the elderly and get them out of there.
Well, and like you were saying, community, it was a gift, the community that we had around our family and my mother and the people that worked to help her. So when things like this would see a red flag or you knew just was not right, calling and keeping them informed so they can stay on top of stuff. In the nursing facility, you know, because she's separated from me, I'm separated from her, you're doing everything like this, we're in COVID, is wonderful to have because it was a great community and they were trustworthy.
Yeah.
And they always were as much on it as they could be. And there's a great group of people.
Yeah, a lot of them have patient advocates now, all these things, which are really good. So they're building a network. I think I covered everything. Oh, requiring initiation standards. You want to have some kind of firewall for people so they just can't automatically get your trust. Okay, that's one thing there. Vetting and filtering intrusions, see them as intrusions. I think I've covered everything through the discussion. I'm talking about understanding community, and those are people you care about. You know, the word community means to build together. Comuneo. Muneo is Latin for building together. You're building a network of people. I think that covers. Oh, there it goes. All right.